H.R. 1968.
The clerk will report.
Motion to proceed to calendar number 26, H.R. 1968, an act making further continuing appropriations and other extensions for fiscal year ending September 30th, 2025, and for other purposes.
Under the previous order, the Senate will proceed to executive session to resume consideration of the following nomination, which the clerk will report.
Nomination, Executive Office of the President, Stephen Moran of New York to be Chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors.
Mr. President,
Senator from Iowa.
I want to pay tribute to a military unit that's being retired in Fort Dodge, Iowa. On March the 2nd, the colors were retired for the 133rd Test Squadron in Fort Dodge, Iowa. The 133rd has an extraordinary legacy. Since its inception in 1948, the 133rd has stood as a pillar of excellence, evolving from radar spotting to pioneering the use of advanced communication technologies. From the Korean War to the global war on terror, the 133rd has answered our nation's calls with unwavering dedication. Its innovation has helped ensure our military remains at the forefront of the defense capabilities. To the men, women, and families of the 133rd, past and present, thank you for your service, for your sacrifice, and commitment to our state and nation. Your impact is immeasurable, and your legacy will endure.
Mr. President.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, yesterday I came to the floor to discuss the terrible human cost of fentanyl. The lives lost, the families changed, the future is destroyed. In 2022, we lost 295 people a day to drug overdoses, the vast majority of them opioids, and specifically fentanyl. 22 teenagers died each week that same year from drug overdoses. That's like losing an entire high school classroom every week. Mr. President, the majority of drug overdoses in this country are from fentanyl, and a lot of illegal fentanyl comes across our southern border in the form of fentanyl analogs, which are versions of fentanyl created with slight chemical variations in an attempt to dodge law enforcement. And so getting this crisis under control requires targeting that flow of drugs. That starts, of course, with securing our southern border so that cartels can't hide behind a flood of illegal immigration, and so that the Border Patrol is free to focus on cross-border crime. And in just a few short weeks, President Trump has made major progress on this front, dramatically slowing illegal crossings and taking significant steps to halt the flow of fentanyl across our borders. Now, it's Congress's turn. The bill before us today, the HALT Fentanyl Act, would permanently classify fentanyl analogs, the fentanyl that cartels are making, as Schedule I substances. In other words, fentanyl analogs would be permanently listed as the deadliest type of drug. And that would ensure that law enforcement agencies have the greatest flexibility to combat the scourge of fentanyl and hold accountable those who trade in destroying lives. During his first term, President Trump temporarily classified fentanyl analogs as Schedule I substances. And because it's so important, Congress has extended that classification several times. Now it's time to make it permanent. I was very pleased that we had a robust bipartisan vote last week, on moving to this bill, and I hope that same bipartisanship is reflected in the final vote. There can hardly be a more common sense piece of legislation, and every member of this body should be able to agree that fentanyl analogs, which have been responsible for so many overdose deaths, should be classified as Schedule I drugs. Mr. President, the fentanyl crisis affects every corner of society and every state in the Union. And my state of South Dakota is no exception. Last year in Sioux Falls, police seized enough fentanyl to kill 2.5 million people. 2.5 million. And that was in just one South Dakota city. I'm grateful to Senators Cassidy, Grassley, and Heinrich for introducing this legislation, and to other senators like Senator Johnson and Senator Graham, whose work has drawn attention to the fentanyl crisis. And I hope that in the next few days, senators of both parties will unite to pass the HALT Fentanyl Act and ensure that law enforcement has critical tools to combat this crisis, protect our cities, and protect our children. Mr. President, I yield the floor. And I suggest of a quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Also Brooks.